I killed my sister. Not with my hands, but with the truth she'd buried deeper than her own grave. The moment I slipped into her skin, her perfect, unscarred life, I knew mercy was a lie we'd both been telling ourselves. And as the gavel fell in that fluorescent courtroom, sealing her fate in my stolen body, I whispered to the empty air, "Welcome home, Emily." This is what betrayal tastes like. It started with a whisper in the dark. The kind that echoes from the grave you didn't know was dug for you. I was Hannah, the forgotten twin. The one who took the fall for Emily's golden boy boyfriend's drunk driving crash 5 years ago, pleading guilty to save her spotless sorority resume. Rotting in a minimum security hellhole while she danced through Ivy League parties on Daddy's dime. But freedom came with a curse, an experimental neural swap trial. Sanctioned by some shadowy biotech firm her senator father pulled strings for. Promising rehabilitation through empathy. Empathy? My ass. It was a backdoor to her world. And I walked right through it, waking up in her penthouse suite overlooking Chicago's glittering skyline. Her lithe body humming with the vitality I'd lost to prison yard fights and regret. The first breath in her lungs was electric, like snorting pure adrenaline. I stumbled to the mirror in her walk-in closet, lined with designer labels that screamed untouchable, and there she was, Emily's face staring back, all sharp cheekbones and doe eyes that had charmed juries and lovers alike. My old body scarred, tattooed from a desperate bid for identity behind bars, lay comatose in some sterile ward, wired to machines beeping like a countdown to chaos. The docs called it temporary, a 6-month overlay to foster understanding. But I saw the fine print in the consent form she'd forged my signature on, reversible only if both parties agreed. She hadn't counted on me hijacking the signal, looping the transfer through a black market hacker I'd met in the joint. Now, she was trapped in my husk, waking up to the stink of bleach and the clang of cell doors, while I stretched in silk sheets that smelled like vanilla and victory. Revenge isn't a sprint, it's a slow bleed, the kind that leaves you gasping before you realize you're drowning. Emily had always been the architect of our family's dysfunction, Daddy's princess, Mommy's mirror, the one who framed me for her sins because sisters share everything. Right? Hon, that crash? She was behind the wheel, high on Adderall and entitlement, plowing into that family of 4 on I-90. The dad died instantly. The mom lingered in a coma for months. Her kids orphaned in foster care roulette. I confessed to protect her, thinking blood was thicker than justice. What a fool. While I served time, she graduated summa cum laude, landed a cushy PR gig at her father's lobbying firm, and married the very prosecutor who'd buried me. Talk about poetic irony, until I became the poem. My first move was reconnaissance, slipping into her life like a ghost in a power suit. Her calendar was a battlefield, brunches with socialites, board meetings where she schmoozed for Daddy's next PAC donation, and late-night strategy sessions with her husband, Alex, the golden boy DA who'd risen on my sacrificial plea. I mirrored her perfectly at first, the breathy laugh, the tilt of the head that said, "I'm listening." But really, adore me. But underneath, I was mapping the landmines, the offshore account siphoning campaign funds, the affair with her deputy that could tank his re-election, the fabricated emails pinning corporate espionage on a rival firm. Emily wasn't just a betrayer, she was a spider, webs strung from D.C. to the Windy City, all sticky with secrets that could topple empires. The tension built like a storm front rolling off Lake Michigan. At her firm's holiday gala, crystal flutes clinking under crystal chandeliers in the Palmer House, I cornered Alex in an alcove. His bow tie askew from too much scotch. Darling, I purred in her voice, fingers tracing his lapel. We need to talk about that little indiscretion with Jenna. His face drained of color, eyes darting like a cornered rat.
Ink.
What the hell? You said it was buried. I leaned in, breath hot against his ear. Nothing stays buried forever, Alex. Especially not when it's clawing its way out. He stammered promises, divorce papers, a quiet exit from the race, if I'd keep my mouth shut. But silence was never my plan. I wanted him unraveling, thread by thread, until he choked on his own lies. Word got back to Emily fast. Of course. Trapped in my body at Cook County Women's, she started flooding the prison switchboard with frantic calls to her lawyers, demanding they pull the plug on the swap. It's not me. Hannah's in my head. She's destroying everything. The guards just laughed it off as conjugal delusion, but I could feel her panic vibrating through the neural link. A faint buzz like static on an old radio. It fueled me. Next, I targeted Daddy, Senator Harlan Voss, the silver fox with a smile like a shark and a Senate seat greased by big pharma bucks. At his re-election fundraiser in a Gold Coast mansion, I played the dutiful daughter, arm looped through his as flashbulbs popped. Tell me about the neural program, Dad, I said casually, sipping champagne that tasted like fermented ambition. Such a humane way to reform the lost causes, don't you think? His grip tightened, eyes narrowing. Emily, drop it. That's classified. But I pressed, voice dropping to a whisper. Classified like the payoffs to fast-track the trials? Or the cover-up for the test subjects who didn't come back right? He brushed it off publicly, but privately, the paranoia set in. I leaked just enough, an anonymous tip to a hungry reporter at the Tribune about irregularities in the biotech contracts, to make the headlines buzz without naming names. Voss family ties to controversial MindSwap tech spark ethics probe. Emily's world started cracking, sponsors pulling out, Alex fielding subpoenas, her social circle whispering, poor thing. Must be the stress. I reveled in it. Nights spent in her clawfoot tub, bubbles rising like suppressed screams, plotting the next incision. But revenge has teeth, and they sink deep. One slip, a hesitation in my gait during a photo op, a flicker of my old prison yard swagger, and Alex started sniffing around. He hired a PI, the kind who digs up dirt for breakfast. And suddenly my black market hacker was getting heat from feds with Voss connections. I had to accelerate. The climax brewed in the underbelly of Chicago, where the loop meets the shadows of Pilsen. I arranged a reconciliation meet with Emily, smuggling her out on a weekend furlough, her lawyer strong-armed. We met in an abandoned warehouse by the river, the air thick with rust and regret, her in my body, shackled but spitting fire. You bitch, she snarled, chains rattling like accusations. This was supposed to fix you, make you see how hard I fought for us. I circled her, heels clicking on concrete that echoed our fractured childhood. Fought? You threw me under the bus.
Eminência.
For what? To keep your halo shiny. That's when I laid it bare. The crash wasn't just a mistake. She'd orchestrated it, luring that family onto the road with a fake emergency call from a burner phone, all to frame their dad, a whistleblower threatening Daddy's pharma deals. The mom in the coma? She'd woken up last month, whispering to a nurse about the blonde girl in the Audi. Emily's eyes, my eyes, widened in the dim light. You don't understand. It was for the family. Family. The word curdled in my mouth. I pulled the trigger on the recorder hidden in my coat, her confessions spilling out like bile. Transmitted live to the DA's office, Alex's office. Sirens wailed in the distance as Betrayal's echo faded. The fallout was a symphony of shattering glass. Alex's press conference the next morning was a train wreck, sweat beading on his forehead under the Klieg lights. Voice cracking as he announced his resignation amid personal matters. The Tribune ate it up. DA Voss's empire crumbles. Affair. Corruption. And a family's secret exposed. Emily's lawyer scrambled, filing for mistrial on the swap, claiming undue influence, but the neurologs I doctored showed her consent clear as day. She raged from her cell, pounding walls that once held me, while I played the grieving widow in black Chanel, fielding sympathy calls with crocodile tears. But power doesn't yield easy, it bites back. Senator Voss went nuclear, unleashing his machine, smears in the op-eds calling me unhinged, PIs tailing my every move, even a whisper campaign to the biotech firm about pulling my life support. And the charade. His aide hissed over a burner phone I'd traced to his office. Or, we make sure Hannah's body flatlines. The threat hung like smog over the city, forcing my hand. Controversial decisions? Hell, I invented a few. I seduced the firm's lead neuroscientist, a bespectacled ethicist named Dr. Reyes with a weakness for forbidden fruit and Foucault. In his lab coat rumpled from our overtime, he spilled the beans. The swap wasn't just experimental. It was a weapon. Voss's pet project to reprogram political dissidents, swapping minds to extract confessions or plant false memories. Empathy. Indeed. I leaked that to ProPublica, anonymized through proxies, and watched the Senate Ethics Committee convene in emergency session. Voss's face on C-SPAN, that patrician scowl cracking like old leather, denying it all while his pulse tanked. Emily, sensing the noose, tried one last play, a contraband message smuggled via a guard she'd charmed in my body.
Hun. Please.
We're twins. Blood calls to blood. Let me back in, and we fix this together.
Blood.
The word mocked me as I burned the note in her marble fireplace, ashes scattering like our shared DNA.
Together?
We'd never been anything but rivals in a funhouse mirror. The tension ratcheted tighter, a noose of my own making. Alex, cornered and desperate, confronted me at our her lake house in Michigan. The autumn leaves bleeding red against the dunes. He burst through the door, pistol trembling in his manicured hand, eyes wild with the betrayal of a man who'd betted the wrong twin. "Who the fuck are you?" he roared, the gun barrel a cold accusation. I didn't flinch, just smiled that Emily smile, slow and serpentine. "I'm the reckoning, Alex. The one you sentenced to oblivion." He lunged, but I was faster, prison reflexes in a yoga-toned frame, disarming him with a twist that cracked his wrist like dry twigs. As he crumpled, sobbing about ruined legacies, I zip-tied him to a Adirondack chair, the lake wind whispering confessions. "Remember the plea deal?" I murmured, pacing the creaking porch. "How you coached me through it, promising leniency if I flipped on ghosts that didn't exist." His denials bubbled up, but I had the recordings, tapes from my cell block hacks, his voice oily with ambition. I played them on loop, the digital ghost haunting the night, until he broke, admitting he'd known about the crash setup, even buried evidence for Voss's campaign contributions. It was business.
Inghona.
Whatever you are, whatever I am. The words ignited something primal, a decision teetering on the razor's edge. Kill him, frame him, or worse, let him live. A hollow man testifying against his father-in-law? I chose the controversy. I injected him with a sedative from Reyes's stash, enough to mimic a suicide attempt, then called 911 myself. My husband's distraught. He tried to
God.
help us. The headline screamed DA's breakdown, a fair fallout or a deeper scandal? Voss's machine sputtered. Allies jumping ship like rats from a sinking yacht. Emily felt it all. The neural feedback, a torment of phantom pains. Her messages turned pleading, then venomous. You're killing us both. You monster. Monster.
But kettle.
But doubt crept in like fog off the lake. Was I any better? Puppeteering her life into ruin? The mirror in the master bath showed her face. But my eyes, hardened by years she'd stolen. Sleepless nights blurred into days of calculated chaos, anonymous donations to the victim's fund in her name. Each check a thorn in Voss's side, whispers to her sorority sisters about Emily's wild side, unraveling her social armor. The city pulsed with it. Chicago's undercurrent of grit and greed amplifying every leak, every lie exposed. Then came the subpoena. Voss's legal eagles hauled me into a closed hearing. Fluorescent buzz like a migraine. Senators grilling me on the swap's ethics. MS. Voss, the chairwoman intoned, her gaze like a scalpel. Your involvement raises questions of identity fraud. I leaned into the mic, voice steady as Lake Superior ice. Identity? That's rich. Coming from a family built on borrowed lives. Gasps rippled through the room as I dropped the bomb. Voss's emails. Procured via Reyes's backdoor. Detailing bribes to silence the coma mom. The chamber erupted. Gavels pounding like heartbeats in arrest. Voss, watching from the gallery, went ashen. His empire fracturing under the weight of truths long interred. But empires fight dirty. That night, as snow dusted the Gold Coast, a black SUV tailed me home, tires screeching like banshees. I bolted into the lobby, heart hammering in Emily's chest, dialing Reyes for an emergency extraction. They're coming for the body, I gasped. Pull the plug if you have to. His reply was static-laced panic. Hannah, it's too late. The link's destabilizing. You have minutes. Minutes. The word echoed as I barricaded the penthouse door. Shadows lengthening like fingers closing around my throat. The destabilization hit like a freight train derailing in my skull, flashes of prison gray bleeding into penthouse gold. Emily's laughter overlaying my screams. I collapsed on her Persian rug, visions assaulting me. The crash in slow motion, headlights piercing rain-slicked asphalt, the family screams as metal twisted like fate. Then, deeper, buried memories surfacing like dredged corpses. Emily. Not me. The one who'd always envied my authenticity, the raw edges she polished away with privilege. We'd swapped secrets as kids. But this was soul theft. Reyes's voice crackled through the panic button, initiating reversal protocol. Fight it. Hannah, anchor to your core. My core. What was left after 5 years of her sins weighing me down? I clawed to the bathroom, splashing water on her face, forcing my reflection to yield. You're Hannah, the survivor. But the link fought back. Emily's essence surging like bile, her regrets, her justifications. A torrent of I did it for us. For the legacy. Legacy. The Voss name, built on bones like the ones crunching under her tires that night. The reversal yanked me back in fits and starts, body convulsing as if birthing demons. When the fog cleared, I was me again, scarred hands trembling on cold tile. staring at my own hollow cheeks in the mirror. Emily's penthouse felt alien now, a museum of stolen moments. But the war wasn't over. It had just gone personal. Downstairs, cops swarmed, Voss's tip-off, painting me as the intruder in my own skin. I slipped out a service exit, hoodie up against the flurries, vanishing into the L train's rattle toward Pilsen, where my hacker contact, Jax, holed up in a graffiti-tagged loft. Jax, ex-NSA with a mohawk and moral ambiguity, patched me into the dark web feeds. Your sister's singing. Blaming you for the leaks. The confrontation says you're the mastermind.
Mastermind.
If only. Emily, back in her body, was spinning a tale of twinly madness, gaslighting the world with tearful interviews on CNN. My sister's always been unstable. The swap. It broke something in her. The public lapped it up. America's fascination with fractured families. True crime pods buzzing with who wore it worse. I wanted to scream the truth, but evidence was evaporating. Voss's cleaners scrubbing digital trails like blood from a scene. Controversy brewed in the decisions that followed, each one a moral quagmire sucking me deeper. I could have run new ID, new city, let karma handle the rest. But no.
Isho's infiltration.
Posing as a freelance journalist, thanks. Forged creds from Jax. I embedded in Voss's campaign war room, a fluorescent bunker in a loop high-rise reeking of coffee and desperation. Days blurred into stakeouts, transcribing Voss's rants about entitled millennials ruining the heartland, eavesdropping on calls to fixers burying the biotech scandal. Emily flitted in and out, the prodigal daughter restored. Her hugs for daddy laced with relief and calculation. Seeing her in the flesh untouched, unrepentant, ignited a fire that prison therapy couldn't douse. One evening, as the team toasted a pole bump, I spiked Voss's scotch with a microdose hallucinogen from Reyes's lab remnants, enough to loosen tongues, not fry circuits. He cornered me in the copy room, breath sour, eyes glassy. You look familiar.
Kid.
Like that junkie twin of Emily's. I froze, pulse thundering, but played it cool. Flattery. A senator? Or just the whiskey talking? He laughed. A bark like breaking branches. Then spilled unprompted, unhinged, the crash's genesis. That whistleblower? He had docs on our opioid push. Emily handled it.
Clean.
Like always. Handled. The word hung. A noose for us both. I recorded it all, hidden in my smartwatch. Heart splitting between triumph and the sick realization he'd pimped his daughter for power, same as he'd sacrificed me. The leak hit like a monsoon. Voss confesses to cover up an audio bombshell. Protests erupted outside his offices. Voss for prison trending from coasts to heartland. Emily's facade cracked on live TV. Mascara rivers as she decried deep fakes and desperation. But the neural logs, subpoenaed at last, corroborated her consent, her orchestration. Alex, out on bail for his own charges, flipped first, testifying to the affair's overlap with evidence tampering. The dominoes toppled, indictments raining down. Voss's gavel dream shattered. Yet the antagonist's cunning peaked in the shadows. Emily, cornered, reached out through Jack's encrypted plea, meet me. One last swap. Make it right.
Right.
The word twisted like a knife. Against Jax's warnings. I agreed. Curiosity a siren call. The rendezvous was neutral ground, a derelict chapel in Bridgeport. Stained glass shattered like our bond. moonlight filtering through cracks like hesitant forgiveness. She waited in the nave, silhouette slender against the altar, voice echoing soft. Han.
God.
I've missed you.
Missed.
As if we'd been parted by time, not treachery. We talked, or monologued, for hours, pews creaking under unspoken weights. She wept about the pressure, the Voss legacy as a cage, the crash as a necessary excision. I countered with the coma mom's last breath, the kids' therapy bills she'd ignored. You stole my life twice.
Eminencia.
Once with the lie, once with this tech. Her eyes, mirrors of mine.
Hardened.
And you're any better? Playing God with my body. My marriage. The accusation landed. A mirror to my sins. Then the twist. She pulled a drive from her coat. Voss's kill switch for the swap. A virus to trap me permanently in limbo. Mine's adrift in digital purgatory.
Betrayal encore.
I lunged, but she was ready, taser crackling like Judgment Day. My body seizing on cold stone. As darkness closed, her whisper. Blood calls to blood.
Sister.
But mine's thicker. Thicker with lies. Maybe. But I'd anticipated. Jax's bug in her phone traced the drive's origin, alerting feds midstream. Sirens wailed as she bolted, but the chapel doors burst open to swat floodlights. Voss's final gambit exposed. The arrests came swift and merciless. A spectacle splashed across every feed from Fox to MSNBC. Voss in cuffs, silver hair disheveled, snarling at cameras. Witch hunt. Emily, dragged from her panic room, face a mask of defiant poise. But her eyes, our eyes, betrayed the fracture. Innocent until proven, she mouthed to reporters. But the evidence avalanche buried her. Audio.
Logs.
The whistleblower's resurrected files pieced together by dogged investigators. Alex turned state's evidence for immunity. His testimony a gut punch. She knew. They all did. It was family policy, protect the brand. I watched from a safe house in Wicker Park. Jax's loft fortified like a bunker, nursing bruises from the taser and a soul-deep ache. The reversal had left echoes, phantom itches where her memories lingered, like ghosts squatting in my neurons. Was I Hannah? Or a mosaic of us both? Therapy sessions via burner Zoom with a pro bono shrink droned on about identity reclamation, but words felt hollow against the void. The victims' families reached out. Tentative olive branches, the surviving kid, now a teen activist, thanking me for giving mom's ghost a voice. It should have healed. But revenge's aftertaste is ash. The trial was a circus. Chicago courthouse a coliseum for America's schadenfreude. I testified under immunity, voice steady on the stand. She swapped us to atone. But absolution's a luxury for the guilty. Emily's cross-exam was brutal. Her lawyer painting me as vengeful phantom. But the neural scans, waves of her malice spiking during the leaks, sealed cracks in her armor. Voss took the stand last. A fallen titan railing against deep-state biotech conspiracies, but the jury, Midwestern pragmatists with calloused hands, saw through the bluster. Guilty on all counts. Conspiracy, manslaughter facilitation, ethics violations. Emily followed, her sorority poise crumbling into sobs as the foreman intoned life. No parole. Life. The word echoed my sentence. A mirror held to her face. As the gavel fell, our eyes met across the gallery, hers pleading,
Mine pitiles.
You feel it now, I mouthed. The weight. The cage. She nodded. a single tear carving through makeup, before marshals led her away in orange that clashed with her pedigree. Voss got 25. His empire auctioned off to pay restitution. The biotech firm shuddered amid congressional probes. Justice? Or just the wheel turning, grinding us all finer? But twists don't end with verdicts, they burrow deeper. Months later, as snow thawed into spring slush, a letter arrived, contraband from Emily's cell, penned in her looping script.
Han.
The link's not dead. I feel you still.
Come back.
We can swap again, live as one. Madness or manipulation. Tests confirmed residual entanglement. Neural scar tissue binding us like conjoined twins at the soul. Doctors offered severance surgery. Risky as Russian roulette. Success meant freedom. Failure a vegetative duet. The decision loomed. Controversial as all my choices, sever the tie. Risk losing pieces of myself. Or embrace the echo. A perpetual haunt? Public opinion split like fault lines. Podcasters debated twinning trauma, redemption or reckoning. Feminists hailed me as avenger. Conservatives decried the family implosion. I walked Chicago's streets, anonymous in crowds. The L trains sway a metronome to introspection. Jax proposed vanishing to Portland, starting fresh with crypto gigs and craft beer. Reyes, cleared of complicity, offered a grant for victim narratives. But the pull was magnetic, Emily's voice in dreams, whispering sisters forever. The climax replayed in nightmares, that warehouse confession, her chains my own. Had I become the monster, wielding her body like a weapon? Or was it catharsis? The only language betrayal understands? The surgery date circled on my calendar. A guillotine for our Gordian knot. I stood on the lakeshore at dawn. Waves lapping like unanswered questions. Emily's ring, wedding band-eyed pond, cold in my palm. Toss it? Keep it as talisman? The wind decided, snatching it into the depths. In the end, I chose the blade. The ore lights buzzed like judgment. Scalpels kiss a severance of flesh and fate. Waking groggy, monitors beeping solo. I felt lighter. Empty, but mine. Emily's appeals dragged on, but reports trickled. Her and Gen Pop, trading boss privilege for survival smarts she'd once mocked in me. A poetic symmetry. Years folded like origami. I wrote a memoir. Swapped shadows, bestseller fodder for book clubs dissecting twin telepathy or tech terror. Jax and I build a life in the Rust Belt. Hacking for good, exposing corporate mind games. The Victims Fund thrived. Scholarships in the coma mom's name sending kids to college. Justice wasn't tidy, but it breathed. Yet on quiet nights, staring at the ceiling's cracks, I wonder, did the surgery sever us? Or just mute the scream? Emily's last letter,
Post-op.
arrived and signed, free at last. Thank you, sister. Thank you. For the revenge, or the release. The debate lingers. A shadow in the light, happy ending, or tragedy's echo. You decide. Blood may call, but some echoes fade, leaving only the self, scarred but standing. Epilogue whispers don't shout, they slither, coiling around the happily ever after like vines on a grave. 2 years post-surgery. Chicago's skyline had softened in my rear view. Portland's evergreens a green screen for reinvention. Jax and I ran a consultancy. EchoGuard, auditing neural tech for ethical breaches. Our tagline, unlock the mind, not the lie. Clients ranged from wary startups to paranoid Pauls. each case a scalpel to old wounds. I keynote at TEDx. Voice amplified. Identity isn't a switch to flip, it's a fire to tend. Audiences nodded, but their eyes asked the unsaid. What did you lose in the swap? Emily's appeals exhausted their strings. Her life sentence a full stop in supermax solitude. Rumors filtered through inmate networks she'd started a literacy program, teaching cons to read between lines of their own stories. Redemption arc? Or survival ploy? Voss rotted in federal gray. His memoirs unpublished. A cautionary tome gathering dust. Alex remarried a paralegal. Their wedding announcement a footnote in the Trib. Quiet ceremony for disgraced DA. Quiet. As if volume measured guilt. My scars itch less. But dreams persisted. Hybrid horrors where bodies blurred. Emily's laugh morphing into my scream. Therapy unpacked it. Trauma's half-life.
Hannah.
Radioactive. But decaying. Decaying. The word comforted until a client gig pulled me back east, auditing a biotech spinoff. Voss's orphaned brainchild. The lab in Boston hummed with sterile ambition. White coats buzzing like bees in a hive.
Dr.
Reyes, graying at the temples, greeted me warily. You look
Resolved.
resolved. A polite word for hollowed out. During downtime, I detoured to the cemetery, the crash site's shadow, where the family lay under marble whispers. The mom's stone read forever in our hearts, etched with wildflowers I'd planted last visit. Kneeling in dew-kissed grass, I traced the letters. Guilt's tide rising. Had my revenge honored them? Or just sated me? A groundskeeper shuffled by, mistaking pity for prayer. Rough story.
That one.
But look, the kids turned out fighters. Fighters. Like me. The real twist slunk in via certified mail. Postmarked from Emily's facility. A thumb drive. No note. Jax plugged it in. Our screens flickering to life with a video, grainy cell cam footage of her. Gaunt but fierce. Addressing a circle of women in orange. We all carry someone else's sins, she said. Voice raw. Mine was my sister's. I swapped her life for mine, thinking power purified. It didn't. It poisoned. The group leaned in, nods rippling like confessions. Then the camera panned. A hidden file. Audio logs from the swap's dark days, her internal monologues. Unfiltered. Terror at the crash. Voss's coercion. A child's plea buried under ambition. I love you. Always did. Forgive me. Forgive. The word detonated. Fragments embedding deep. Jax paused the feed. Trap? Maybe. Or mirror. I drove to the prison unannounced. Visitor log signed anonymous. The interview room a sterile confessional, plexiglass and intercom static. She entered. Chains a soft clink. Eyes meeting mine without flinch. You came. No question. Just fact. We talked, or dissected, for an hour. The legacies lie. The crash's calculus, her life or the whistleblower's truth. The swap as mutual crucifixion. I thought it'd make me you, she admitted. Stronger. But you were always the spine.
Spine.
The compliment stung sweeter than barbs.
No tears.
No hugs, just truths traded like contraband. As guards signaled time, she pressed a palm to the glass. Live for both of us. That's the real revenge. Revenge. Or release. Driving west. The drive's files uploaded to Echo Guard's archive, not public, but preserved. A bridge. Perhaps. over the chasm we'd carved. Portland welcomed me with rain-slicked streets and Jax's takeout tie, our loft a haven of code and chaos. That night, I dreamed not of swaps, but solidity, my body, my choices, unentwined. Waking to birdsong, I deleted the visitor log from my mind, keeping the echo faint. Happy? Tragic? The debate's mine now. Reader, blood's call silenced, but its rhythm lingers in the pulse. What would you choose? Sever? Or sing the duet to its end? In the quiet after, I wonder if justice is the absence of chains, or the strength to wear them lightly. Emily's program thrives, inmates penning tales of their shadows. Voss's name fades from headlines, a ghost in policy footnotes. Alex's quiet life a reminder, even villains seek solace.
Me?
I tend the fire, scarred hands steady, the Midwest's ghost at my back, but not in my bones. Swapped identities reclaimed, one breath at a time. And if the neural hum ever returns, a whisper across states, souls, I'll answer. Not with vengeance, but voice. Sisters, after all, share more than sins. They share the story.